"If you go down in the woods today, you're in for a big surprise," the editor said. We had just docked at the Halibut Point Road Cruise Terminal to board the shuttle bus for a free 15-minute ride into Sitka, where Russia transferred Alaska to the United States for 2 cents an acre. It was a pleasant drive through woodlands to our left, and glimpses of the waters of Sitka Sound to our right. Our bus driver Patrick warned us that there was one brown bear every square mile, grumpy because they were hungry after hibernating. Sitka was surprisingly pleasant and substantial. It was the capital until 1906, when it was moved to Juneau. It was no longer very cold with the advent of spring, but hungry brown bears had begun calling on nearby homeless encampments in search of a few leftovers. One homeless man reported that a bear slashed the roof of his tent, while another man had taken to living on boats, rather than risk meeting any more Bruins in the woods. In the fall, the bears are fat and happy after feasting on all the salmon. In the spring, they just want to eat anything. "You know what you should do if you meet a bear?" I inquired of the editor. "No? What?" he asked. "Panic," I said. "Seriously though, experts advised make noise to let the bears know you're coming through. Don't move any closer. Try to appear calm. Make yourself look as big as possible. Back up slowly. Carry bear spray. And do not run away, as this would likely be taken by your new Ursin acquaintance as a welcome invitation to chase after you." I could relate to all of this because I have had a few encounters with bears myself, one of them while visiting the small Alaskan port of Icy Strait Point. I recalled how I first met a bear when I was 9 years old. We had stopped for the night at a campsite, and I decided to go for a walk. Somewhere along the trail, a bear with at least one cub was now blocking my path. I was unable to convince it I had the right of way, so I reluctantly returned to our campsite and casually mentioned the encounter to my parents. "You stood there arguing with it," Mom freaked. A few years later, we were on another camping trip when I awoke amid the Rocky Mountains in my sleeping bag in the back of a pickup truck with a canopy on it. My parents had been sleeping behind the truck in a travel trailer, but Dad was already up preparing a campfire. Just as he was about to get it going, a black bear wandered into our campsite, waddled right up behind my father and sniffed him. With eyes wide open, I tapped on the window, trying to get his attention, but he was blissfully unaware, poking about with a 2-foot stick in his hand. Finally, he heard me knocking much more loudly on the window, and pirouetted to see the bear right behind him. Well, I never imagined my father as a frontiersman like Davy Crockett, and I could scarcely believe my eyes as he proceeded to attack the bear with his stick. The bear was even more shocked than I was. It jumped straight up into the air, like a startled cat, and hightailed it back into the woods. "Don't mention it to your mother," Dad said, looking slightly ruffled. "We wouldn't want to scare her now, would we?" Mom slept in the travel trailer, completely unaware that we'd just had an unexpected visitor for breakfast, while Dad, of course, thereafter remained a stoic hero to me all through my childhood. The sale proceeds for Alaska wouldn't even buy a New York penthouse nowadays, but it was undoubtedly a lot of money back then. Goodness me, the Tsars certainly lived high on the hog, almost as well as the editor and I had been doing on the Norwegian Spirit for less than $100 a day. Both of us had accumulated enough past cruise credits to partake henceforth of the finest specialty dining, including Japanese steak washed down with complimentary wine in the teppanyaki grill for him, and gourmet duck served medium rare, as recommended by the chef, in Le Bistro specialty restaurant for me. The bears, wolves, whales, eagles, and other animals, as well as the glaciers and the spectacular up-close scenery, are among my main reasons for opining that Alaska is the #1 cruise destination in the world. You also have some true wildlife in the crazy young people on the pool deck, but most passengers tend to be older and more sedate. Some of them have cruised Alaska multiple times before. "Hi, Rupert," I frequently hear. "We met you up here a few years ago." I turn around and smile, seeing a pair of elderly cruisers I know I've met previously. But I'm struggling to remember who the heck they are. "Nice to see you again," I say, hoping they might reintroduce themselves by name. "Earl and Dorothy from Forgotten Bluff, Wyoming," says Earl, pumping my hand. Actually, he told me the real name of the town they were from, but I've forgotten it again. Earl uses a mobility scooter and likes the fact that he can stay on board the whole time, enjoying non-stop scenery, while Dorothy can easily walk straight off the ship at any of Alaska's small ports. Earl and Dorothy also like sitting on their stateroom balcony, admiring the scenery in daylight until late in the evening. They don't call it the land of the midnight sun for nothing, he says. Heck, we were out there last night till way past 11 p.m. "I'm surprised at how expensive it's gotten for people in Alaska," added Dorothy. "Good job we can eat on the ship," said Earl.
Well, this has been a wonderful trip.
It really has.
Let's go see if the buffet is open.
Once you have decided on an Alaskan cruise, most itineraries present the option of leaving from San Francisco, Seattle, or Vancouver. All three are wonderfully scenic cities, though I would recommend embarking in Vancouver because it will more likely take you via the much more scenic Inside Passage between the mainland and Vancouver Island. Then you park your car free of charge close to the port while you leave on a cruise for the next 11 days or so. The editor chatted with a retired forest ranger who had left his vehicle to be serviced at his car dealership while he was away. "It's a great way to park for free," he explained. "They even threw in an Uber ride to get me to the port, and another one when we return." "What a great idea," the editor said. "Yep," said Bob, who had another tip too. "When you're going on a cruise, you should always pack a pair of cowboy boots." "Huh?" "Yep, you can stash a 26er of rum in each of them. I've never been caught yet." The editor and I, of course, insist you should never do such a thing. Some of the cruise lines allow you to take a bottle of wine, but employ airport-type scanners and are very adept at finding and confiscating contraband. "I didn't see Bob again," said the editor. "Maybe they made him walk the plank. They probably poured his rum out after him." You may notice there aren't as many kids on an Alaska cruise as you might see on big ships sailing the Caribbean with their go-karts, giant water slides, and the like. Obviously, there is not much point in cruising Alaska for its spectacular scenery and wildlife if what you really want is a family holiday with lots of midway rides. You and any kids will almost certainly enjoy the Great Alaskan Lumberjack Show in Ketchikan. It takes place in one of the wettest cities in the world, but it was a pleasant sunny day when we were there, watching athletic loggers displaying their skills at carving with chainsaws, chopping and climbing poles at breakneck speed, before finishing up with an hilarious display of burling, in which two lumberjacks stand on a floating log, spinning it wildly with their feet until one of them falls into the water, amid peals of laughter. Icy Strait Point, despite its small size, has 2 docks with a free gondola ride between them, and it boasts a fine museum focusing on its fish canning operations and celebrating the history of its native Tlingit people who believed in reincarnation of both humans and animals. After disembarking from my ship, I took one of the bright green gondola cars over to the other dock. The gondola was amazingly comfortable and well appointed, suspended by cable from tall, sturdy steel towers between the trees. I looked around the museum before returning to the visitor center. Spotting a sign for the world's largest zip rider, accessible via paid red gondolas up the mountain, the editor harked back to my unfortunate experience underneath a zip line in Honduras. "Want to give it a try?" he asked, smirking as usual. "No," I rejoined. "It says it's not recommended for anyone with back problems." Several of our shipmates squealed with delight, dangling 300 feet up in the air as they hurtled a mile down Hoona Mountain at speeds of more than 60 miles per hour. Eyeing them with disbelief as they whirred to a halt alongside him, the editor shook his head and went into the visitor center. I had begun to walk back to my ship when the gondola operator ran over, tugged at the sleeve of my shirt, and stopped me. "You have to go back on the free gondola," he ordered. "But I need the exercise," I protested. "There are some bears on the trail looking for dinner." I quickly jumped into the gondola without further argument.